deep into the Appalachian Mountains. If you've ever wondered what's out there, keep watching.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I can hear it in his voice that he's telling the truth. You can tell he's still shaken up over this incident.
911 call a couple of months ago, actually. And it's been a little bit of a challenge to get the sheriff's schedule, my schedule, and finally now we've got your schedule all worked out so that we can talk to you and get you to tell your story. Obviously, we're not going to share your name or your face. Totally understand that. But after talking with you, clearly your voice is the voice that's on that 911 call. So if you would, just start wherever you want to. We want to hear the whole story. Take as much time as you need.
I guess I'll start from the beginning of the trip. I was coming up from Florida to visit my family. At the time, I was going to a trade school down there, and when I was driving up here to where the incident occurred by the battlefield, it was already easily like well into the morning. I wasn't looking at my phone. I just know it was pitch black outside, and it was pitch black. I couldn't see the moon, stars, nothing, just barely the road through my headlights. And I had my window down because the AC wasn't working the best. And as I was coming around, there's a massive right curve right there before you cross the Black River. And then after that, you have the battlefield. So on that massive black curve, as I'm coming around, I had just started the curve and I was about a third of the way through it. And I look over into the ditch on my right because I caught a quick glimpse of something. And as I take a further look, it looks like there's I'd say probably a 30-something-year-old man standing in that ditch wearing what looks like an old Civil War uniform, just covered head to toe in blood. And the uniform was torn as well. That threw me off because I didn't expect to see it at like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'm calling 911 after I see him to report that because for all I know, it could have just been a normal guy that was injured and needed emergency help. It looked like what had happened is he hit his head on something.
Okay.
And the blood was just pooling down over his face and torso.
Okay.
And well, as I was calling, everything seemed perfectly normal. Just quick phone call to 911, let them know, hey, there's a guy out here, and try to find somewhere safe to park so that way I can take them to him. Well, as you know from the 911 call, right as soon as I reported that, I already had my window up at that point. All of a sudden, I heard a massive bang on my truck, and my truck bounced down from the rear, like I was pulling a heavy trailer and I hit a pothole.
Wow. And
so I'm sitting there going, what the hell is that? Which I'm pretty sure you heard me yell, what the hell? I turned on my bed light. And I looked in my rearview mirror, and all I saw was this white, like snow white face right up against my rear windshield. Like it was looking into my truck, trying to see what it could see. It had shallow, sunken eyes. It had no nose. Just think if you took skin and put it on a human skull and stretched it thin. Couldn't see any ears, just bad. And immediately I just started screaming. I didn't realize until afterwards that I had said that's not human on the call, because it was just the first thing I started screaming because I was terrified. I didn't have my firearm with me, nothing. All I had was a wood splitting axe. That's all I had. So, and my truck is loud as is, and it picks up speed fairly easily. Well, my truck at the time, it had a gas-powered 6-liter V8 Vortec on it, and it was a proper dual exhaust, hence why I had the window up, because that truck is nice and loud.
Okay.
Well, I'm doing in between like 55, 60 miles an hour when this happens, and I just stomped on the gas for a second. When I looked at the speedometer before I slammed on my brakes, I was doing maybe 80. And I slammed on those brakes with all my might, and I went from like 80 miles an hour down to like 35 in just like a couple of seconds. And all I see is just a super scrawny long body just fly over my truck in a ball rolling. And as I'm I then swerve to the left and get back in the travel lane, and I floor it. And as I'm swerving to the left, I see it stand up, and it is easily taller than that truck.
No way.
I'm 5'10". The truck is about 2 inches taller than I am. And this thing was easily like maybe 7 feet.
Wow.
Summer, she went to stay with her uncle for a little while, and he lived like out in the middle of the woods in the Appalachian Mountains, where you have no cell service, there's no neighbors for miles, street lights, just trees and wildlife. Uncle lived in this really old log cabin that he had built by hand. Uncle told her that the mountains had a way of watching you, and she thought he was just being dramatic until one night. It was around 2 a.m. and she was about half asleep when she heard this long, slow whistle right outside of her window. It wasn't a bird, it wasn't an animal, it sounded like a human, but it was weird sounding, something was off about it. It sounded like they were trying to mimic a whistle, but didn't know how. She looks outside and nothing's there. She hears the whistle again, but this time it's coming from further away, like on down the yard from behind the cabin. Bree decides to go outside and find whatever's making this sound. Goes out the back door with her flashlight, and there's nothing there but trees and fog. Not even footprints, but every night that week the whistle would come back. Always at 2 a.m. Sometimes far away and sometimes right outside the window, and then one night it wasn't a whistle at all. It was a knock, a slow, heavy knock, 3 times. She did what I think most of us would do, and she froze. She didn't move, she didn't breathe, she didn't speak, she did nothing. Her uncle had told her, if you ever hear it knock, don't answer, don't speak, and whatever you do, don't open the door. Stayed there all night just staring at the door, and at sunrise it finally stopped, and when it did stop, she decided to finally open the door and look outside and see what she saw. There weren't any footprints, but there were scratch marks, really deep scratch marks, like 9 foot tall up on the cabin. She says she left the mountain that day, and she's never been back.
Me and my best friend JC, we were probably 12, 11, like 6th graders. It's her birthday party in January, and we're outside at night, and we decide to, all of us, there's probably like 15 girls, we're like, let's play capture the flag. Me and JC are on the same team, and where she lives, very wooded, and behind her house is a field and then woods for miles, and a shop, like a metal building shop. So me and JC are sneaking around towards the shop because there's a trailer parked by it with one of those lights that are in your yard, you know, like the pole with the light on it, and it's very dim back there. And we saw a shadow, and I was like, that's our other friend, Rylan. We gotta go get her. So we take off running. I'm like, I'll cut this way, and JC's gonna cut the other way. So what we thought was Rylan, I get closer to the trailer, is not. I stopped dead in my tracks. It's like a big cat almost. You have like bobcats in the area, but it wasn't one of those. It was just a big, freaky looking cat. And so I stopped dead in my tracks. JC's behind me at this point. She stops too. I stopped so hard that I slide my feet forward and I go back. And I'm looking up, and this cat, whatever it is, has stood up to this massive black figure that I cannot describe. Like, it was just a figure. And it scared me so bad, I, like, literally whoop, back. JC's, like, grabbing me, and she's trying to run backwards. I'm trying to scoot back, because we're, like, right at the edge of the woods where the shop and the trailer were parked. And we're like, what is this? Like, what's it gonna do? Freaking out. So she has her phone, her flashlight in her pocket. And so she like flips her phone up or light up, and it's like vanishes, like gone out of nowhere. Freakiest thing ever. We take off running, go get all the girls. We're like, get inside, get inside. We round everybody up, like, game over. And we get everyone inside, and we tell her parents. And I mean, like, who's gonna, like, people think, like, oh my gosh, you're crazy. But to this day, we still have the same exact story of what exactly we saw at the edge of the woods that night. And I just think it's absolutely insane, and I don't know what it was. I don't want to ever see it again. Yeah, it was really freaky.
Julie and her mom have been cleaning all day long, and she said by the time they got finished, it was midnight. So her mom was ready to go take a shower. She went and got in the shower, and then Julie hears her mom call her name, but she's like, no, she's in the shower, so she can't be calling my name. So she just ignored it, kind of brushed it off. And then she hears it again, but louder. So this time she goes to the bathroom and she asks her mom, she's like, are you calling me? And her mom's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So this really freaked her out because she heard it twice now. So she goes to her room and she starts Googling, like, what could be calling my name and mimicking someone's voice in my home? So Google tells her that this could be an SW, or what I like to call a flesh pedestrian. Well, it could be that, or it could just be a mimic. Either way, it was freaking her out, and it starts saying her name louder than before right outside of her door, and then starts knocking on her door. So she kind of like gets under her covers, and then it knocks again. So she gets up to open it, probably thinking like maybe it is her mom. But when she opens the door, there's no one there. So she shuts the door, goes back and gets back in her bed under her covers, and then things start saying her name over and over and over again. Julie, 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 Julie. Now, mind you, in her mom's voice. So she texts her mom, and her mom didn't text her back because her mom was already in bed asleep. So then she decides, okay, I'm just terrified. I'm just going to try to go to sleep. And she hears it say, don't sleep. So now she gets up and locks her door, goes to get back in her bed, and she starts hearing scratching. So now she's like, okay, I'm ignoring this. I'm going to sleep. She finally fell asleep. She said she woke up about 20 minutes later, and I guess she checked her door because she said she saw scratches on the door. So she ends up later asking her mom about the scratches, and obviously her mom has no freaking clue about any of this, and especially not scratches on her door. And she said still when she's in her room, she can like feel the energy of this thing, and she said she feels like it's a super angry entity, whatever it is.
The Appalachian Mountains are haunted. So when my dad moved into this house that his parents, my grandparents, built, there were some really weird things that happened. The stories that I'm about to tell you are stories that have been passed down for years. Like, we always knew about these stories, and as kids, we slept in this house at night, and it was just always a little eerie. The first night that the house was built and people could be inside of it, my grandfather was by himself and he heard the phone ring. They had their landline put in. I don't know what it looked like back in those times, but he picks up the phone and he's talking to whoever's on the other end, and he feels a hand press down on his shoulder. Obviously, he turns around and he's freaked out because there's nobody behind him. So that's the first story in this house that is a little bit eerie. I'll take off my earrings really quick. So then the rest of the family eventually finally moves in now that it's complete. My dad, his two brothers, his sister, my grandmother, everybody. So then the weird footsteps start happening. So the house is like a 2-level. It's not like a 2-story, but it's like a main level, and then it has like a basement with like, not a basement, it has windows and everything, but that's where all the kids sleep. So there's this long hallway across that gets to the master bedroom where they are, and then underneath where all the kids are. My dad has a couple of his friends over. He's like a little kid, and they're down in the basement, like where all the bedrooms are, and they hear this heavy walking across the hallway, like with heavy boots. And at first they're like, you know, are these people that have been working on the house, or like, who's here? Basically, like, they were like, what the heck? And then they walk upstairs and it's obviously nobody. And I remember my dad actually called, I don't know why his parents were out that night, but he called his dad, my grandpa, to see if they could come back and like come back early because they were so freaked out. So that's the kids hearing things. But then everyone starts hearing the same heavy walking down the hallway at different times, like of the week, month. Like, everyone experiences this heavy walking across the floor, even when they know that they're like at the house alone and there's no one upstairs. One time my dad is there by himself again, and this is common because his older siblings are like at least 10 years older, so they're like dating and stuff. So he hears like rustling downstairs, like moving around with like papers and like all this kind of stuff. And he's like, oh, my brother is going to play a prank on me. Like, he's going to sneak up on me. So he like walks towards the bedroom, like ready to be like, ha, gotcha. And as he approaches the room that he hears it from, which I guess was his bedroom, it stops. And he walks into the bedroom and there's no one in there. My grandmother actually said that there was one time when she heard this heavy walking across the floor, like I explained, and she was by herself and she was so scared that she walked up the stairs with a baseball bat. So not only are the kids hearing this, the adults are hearing this too. So these are the stories that I grew up hearing, and I hear about the rules of the Appalachian Mountains. I look them up and I'm like, what? So let me see if I can get them all correctly, and y'all can, you know, fact check me, and if I'm missing or saying them wrong, then please tell me. So the rules were, don't whistle in the woods. If you hear something, no you didn't. If you hear something close to you, it's far away. If you hear something far away, then it's actually closer to you. And always to stay on the marked trail, never leave the marked trail, and don't look too deep into the woods because you might not like what you see. I'm someone that enjoys looking into these kinds of things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the woods are haunted, like obviously. And I like to know like the history of things, like these kind of superstitions and rules and things they weren't taken lightly. Like way back, you know, in the 1800s, 1700s, these were things that people believed and they took very seriously. These were real things that people experienced. They held them sacred. And also, as beautiful and as amazing as these mountains are, when you're there at night, there's like a different vibe that like I can't really put my finger on. It's just there's just like this, the darkness is just so thick. Like it's a very creepy place. So if this is your first time hearing about the Appalachian Mountains being haunted, what are the things that people see? What are the things that people experience? Okay, we're gonna go into that next. People claim that, you know, people take mimics. That's another big thing that people experience in the Appalachian Mountains, where they hear their name being called by a voice that they recognize, but that person is at home. They see someone that they recognize, but it's not that person because that person's not even in that city. That's very common. Cryptids, like Bigfoot, Mothman, and then just like beastly like creatures. Like when I did my research, there's a lot of trail cam footages of these people, entities, I guess. I mean, these stories are years and years and years and years of people's superstitions and experiences. So like, I almost feel like it's kind of like small-minded of me to just be like, nope, none of it exists.
Thanks for watching. If these Appalachian woods gave you chills, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, question everything, and don't follow the sounds in the dark.